Hi folks, my name is Chris Wessel, and today we are going to be tying a shrimp pattern, and we're going to be using the shrimp shell Generation 2 clears made by Sportsfisher. These are great little patterns for sea trout and anything in salt water really. Shrimp is one of those organisms that kind of feed everything. So today we're using the 34007 stainless steel by Mustad, and it comes with a straight shank. What I like to do with these is I just put the eye of it in my vise and I give it a slight bend. Basically, you're going to be using that as a your tail section, and it bends in like a little bit more naturally, almost like a shrimp's tail would. And let me just, there we go. All right, so we're going to start off with red 6/0 thread. And we're going to go past the point of the hook and bring this down to almost right to the bend. Keeping in mind that the tail is up by the hook and the head of this is actually down here. You still fish this in reverse, but it's a little bit different of a tying method than what I normally use. This is Arctic Fox. Anything pink or even clear and white, like you can do shrimps in a lot of different colors, but I really like this for these. So basically you just kind of grab these guard hairs, remove the underfur, and then you're just going to bring the underfur up closer to the guard hairs instead of having them hang off so far, like that. And we're just going to bring this in underneath. You can obviously rotate your hook and tie it in that way, but and we give that a few turns. So this access stuff, you want to leave some because it does create body girth, but you want to keep it away from the eye, so that should be fine about there. The next stuff we're going to use is fish scale. Basically what this is it's like a fiber that has flash mixed in with it. We don't use a lot of this, and honestly I end up pulling out a lot of the flash and just use mostly fiber, and that's because saltwater fishing tends to be these patterns tend to be a little bit better in salt water when it's not it's only subtle flash. I don't know if the access flash spooks fish or not, but I know some saltwater guys that would swear by putting in very little flash. So basically I'm just going to tie this in on top, and I kind of staggered the tips a little bit just to have a nice taper. And we'll also cut that off. Now to top this off, we're going to use some more of this Arctic Fox. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the bottom portion, which is we just kind of remove these guard hairs and then just bring this back over. And you want the guard hairs hanging out a little bit, but I just don't like them hanging out as far as they do, because it does kind of give that like shrimpy look to it when they're hanging out. And you want that to be out a little bit further than what your bottom one was. And again, we trim. So that's going to be the general tentacles or whatever you want to call them in the front. We're just going to tie this in down back here. Actually, I'm going to trim this off a little bit more. And this doesn't have to be too pretty back here because we are going to be going over this with some dubbing anyway. This is an important part right here that I'm about to do, so we need to remember this. But basically, I'm making a loop out of my thread, and then I let my spool dangle while I hold this, the doubled up loop again. And then I just come back over it with the thread to hold it in place. Now, this loop is put to the side because we're going to use this later. So you want it out of your way for now. We're going to do some tentacles, or not tentacles, sorry, antennae. And basically all I use for that is orange hackle. And I just strip down the stem. I certainly could have done this before I started this video, but I didn't, so now you're going to have to sit through it. And that should be long enough there, so I'll just cut that off. That's one side. And we just tie these in on the side. And it doesn't matter which way they're sticking because we're going to actually curl those towards the end of the video. And we'll do our next one. All right. And yeah, we just put this one on this side. But you want to have them on the sides. So they're actually in kind of a good place there now. So we'll finish wrapping them in. So I haven't had a lot of experience of fishing with this pattern, but it's fished either dead drifted, sometimes with a strike indicator in current, or you can fish it as a retrieval style. Let's see here. Okay, now we have to put on some dubbing. So today we're using Senyo's Laser Dub by Hairline. It's pretty good stuff. It has a little bit of flash in it, but not too much. I like it. And we're actually using that in a rusty bronze color. That Arctic Fox, actually earlier, I'd mixed up what it was. It wasn't rusty brown. It was fiery brown. It was dyed, sorry. So my fault. And at the first of the video, I'll reflect that in the recipe for this. So I put some of this on it, and this is just Vineyard's Premium Tacky Wax. It works really good at keeping that dubbing around the hook. And we just start building up our body a bit. Not a huge dubbing person, so some of you dubbing guys may or girls may see something you don't like what I'm doing. Feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm always up for learning how to do new things, new methods of doing things. We'll put on a good amount this time. And we'll just kind of slide that up there. So we want this body to be tapered, so we'll start with the bigger clump here in the back, and as we go down, we're just going to start tapering that off. This may have been a bit too ambitious with the amount I just put on. But just keep an eye on it and just make sure you are coming down into a taper in the end. And you can adjust it as you go, as I'm doing here. We're gonna fluff this all up and it's gonna look pretty, so if I'm doing a hack job here, which I kinda am, don't be too concerned about it. It'll be covered with a shrimp body and brushed out, so. So when I say we're gonna brush it out, basically I just take this tool I have here. This is actually a bodkin slash dubbing brush. Shore Fishing actually sells these. They're awesome little tools. Very, very good tool to have at your desk. So we're gonna brush this out and it's gonna give us that, and we wanna brush it down because that's where we want all this kind of leggy sort of dubbing to hang out and look almost like a shrimp body. Hopefully not just almost look like a shrimp body. Want it to actually look like a shrimp body. And just, you can even wet your fingers a bit. Pull that down. And you can even come in and just give it a little trim too. So now that we have that on there, next we will be actually putting on our shrimp shell. So we're gonna put the shrimp shell on next. When taking these off, it's good to use your bodkin for that. It's sometimes hard to get these off. But then I just kind of hold the tail and come up through, and then you can just peel it off. So we tie it in up by the eye of the hook, and I like to leave a little bit hanging off. And we just come in with a loose wrap and tighten down, like so. Leave a little bit hanging off. You can snip that off. I don't bother when I tie these on. I just kind of lift that up, put my, my line down through it. These little V's here along the middle of it should line up with the top of your hook. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to put some Solarez Flex underneath, and we're gonna be using Solarez Flex for everything on this fly today. And we just run a bead up the top of it like that. And we bring this down, and that's gonna spread it out, but we don't hit that with light yet. We come in and we grab this thread that we made the loop with earlier, and you're gonna use this to secure this body. So come in between these black lines with it, and basically what this is gonna do is create segments in the body, and it gives it a little bit more of a realistic look while providing more durability for this. And as you're doing it, you can just pull that dubbing down. And you just tie it in the back here. And cut off the excess. Now you can hit this with UV. So for the eyes on this, basically you have these black dots printed right into the shrimp shells. And when you hit this with a bead of UV resin, best way to do this, I guess, the UV resin actually absorbs the black up into the, like, I guess the way the light hits it, and it gives it an eye popping effect. So we just do one at a time. Do the other one. So another thing I like to do with these shrimp bodies is, or the shrimp pattern, sorry, is I take another little piece of my Arctic Fox, fiery brown Arctic Fox, and basically you line it up so you have this stuff. I don't pull it out, like I leave the guard hairs out and tie this in at the back. And this is going to do two things. It's going to create some more like little feelers, legs, whatever in the back here. But when we trim this off, it also resembles a tail on a shrimp, which is kind of cool. It's kind of my own spin on this. Like I got the pattern from somebody online, but this is my spin on it. And we'll just tie this off. I'm obviously gonna have a hard time with that. Grab a couple of these loose fibers. So we're gonna brush that just off the top because now we're gonna hit that with some resin. And that's gonna guard these thread wraps and give the back a nice little shine, almost like a glass look. So we just move that around. You don't have to keep I'm not squeezing it out right now. I'm just moving around that initial bead that I put on there. This stuff goes a long way and it can get out of hand pretty quick. Now I'll squeeze it a bit more here. Just spread it around. And hit that with some UV. This is the Loon Infinity UV light. You don't have to put your own batteries in it. It actually comes with an internal battery that you just charge with your USB. It lets you know when it's getting low on battery. And it's a really powerful light. It's worth the money. Great light. I don't think I would own anything else at this point unless somebody showed me something better, but this is the best I've used so far. Whoops. All right, so when we put in that thread, we kind of pinned in some of that dubbing, so we'll just pick a little bit of that out. I could have done that actually before I put this tail on. There, that looks good. And we just bring that forward again. Wet my fingers a bit into it. And that is a shrimp pattern using the Shrimp Shell Generation 2 by Sportfisher. These are really cool. It makes this really easy and it creates such a realistic pattern. So thank you guys for watching the video. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you're more than welcome to. Before you leave, I guess I should finish this pattern, which is I just take the blade of my scissors and I curl these up. And they give kind of a cool little curly, realistic look. I like it. Yeah, so where was I? Oh, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please feel free to do so. And if not, just really appreciate you coming by and watching. And I hope this helped and have a great day. Thank you.